The first one arrived on a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesday is when Karen works late, so it was just me and the kids when the UPS truck rolled past without stopping and left a small brown parcel on the porch. No knock. No signature required. I didn't think much of it. Karen orders things constantly, little household items that show up unannounced like shy relatives. But Karen hadn't ordered anything. The package had our address on a clean white label. No return address. Inside, wrapped in brown packing paper, was a photograph. It took me a moment to understand what I was looking at. Our kitchen, the yellow walls Karen had painted last spring, the kids' drawings on the fridge, the crack in the tile near the dishwasher I'd been meaning to fix for 2 years. Everything exactly as it was. Except the photo had been taken from inside the pantry. Through the slats in the door. You could see thin dark lines cutting across the image like bars. I told myself it was old, that maybe previous owners had taken it and it had gotten lost in some system somewhere. I threw it away and didn't tell Karen. The second arrived 11 days later. Our bedroom. Taken from the closet, through a gap in the sliding door. Karen asleep on her side, her hair fanned across the pillow. The timestamp burned into the corner, the kind disposable cameras make, read 2:14 a.m. 3 weeks ago. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I checked every closet, under every bed, inside the crawl space above the garage. Nothing. No cameras. Every lock intact. I told Karen that night. She sat staring at the photograph for a long time. "That's my blue pillowcase," she said quietly. "I threw that out months ago." We called the police. An officer came, took the photo, and told us to call if anything else happened. He suggested a neighbor with a grudge. He suggested we change our locks. We changed the locks. The third package came addressed to our daughter. Emma is 9. Her name was written in careful block letters, and inside was a photo of her bedroom, her glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling, her stuffed rabbits on the shelf. The photo was taken from outside her window, the glass giving it a faint blue tint. Her window is on the second floor. I drove to the police station myself and sat across from a detective who at least had the decency to look uncomfortable. They'd traced nothing. They told me to install cameras. We installed 6 of them. The fourth package showed our living room, Karen and me on the couch, her legs across my lap, watching television. Taken from the hallway. The timestamp was 4 days ago. I pulled up the camera footage and watched 12 hours from 6 angles. Nobody came. Nobody left. All 4 doors remained closed. Detective Marsh came back and watched the footage with me. I could tell she was starting to believe us in the uncomfortable way that cops believe things, not with relief, but dread, because belief meant responsibility. "The postal uniform," she said. "We can work with that." They identified him in 6 days. Robert Tilner, 53, had rented our house for 8 months 4 years before we moved in. Behind the drywall in the basement, hidden behind the water heater, there was a gap 18 inches wide and 7 feet tall. A sleeping bag. Protein bar wrappers. A camping toilet. Disposable cameras. He'd been living inside our wall. They picked him up at a bus station 2 states over. In his bag were 2 more photographs that hadn't been mailed yet. I won't describe those. We don't live there anymore. We're renting now, a 4th-floor apartment with no basement and thin walls you can hear the neighbors through, and I am so grateful for those sounds. The couple arguing above us. The man with the dog who gets up at 5. I've been driving rideshare for 3 years, mostly late nights because the money's better and traffic is lighter. You see strange people after midnight, but strange isn't the same as impossible. The request came in at 1:17 a.m. The name on the ride was Mason. No profile photo. No rating. The space where the stars should have been was blank, like the account had just been created. That happened sometimes, so I accepted it. The pickup was a small residential street about 8 minutes away. When I pulled up, the house was completely dark. No porch light, no movement. I waited. Just as I was about to cancel, the rear passenger door opened and a man got in quietly. Mid-30s, thin, wearing a black jacket despite the heat. He didn't smell like alcohol or smoke. He didn't say hello. "Mason?" I asked. After a second, he said, "Yeah," in a calm, almost distracted voice. I swiped to start the trip. The destination was across town near an industrial strip with closed warehouses and empty lots. The drive was about 25 minutes. I tried small talk twice and got nothing back. In the mirror, I noticed he wasn't looking out the window or at a phone. He was looking straight ahead at the back of my head. Not blinking much. About 10 minutes in, my navigation flickered and reset itself. The route disappeared for a moment before returning. I figured it was bad signal. When we reached the drop-off, it was in front of an abandoned office building with boarded windows and a chain-link fence. "We're here," I said. He leaned forward slightly and replied, "This is fine." He stepped out and walked toward the side of the building where there wasn't even an entrance. I watched him until he disappeared past the corner. I ended the ride. Except I didn't. The app returned to the home screen without showing a fare or rating prompt. I frowned and opened my trip history. The last completed ride listed was from 12:42 a.m., a woman I'd dropped downtown. There was nothing after that. No Mason. No 117 pickup. No record of the 25-minute drive I had just taken. I refreshed the app, logged out, logged back in. Still nothing. My gas gauge had dropped. The miles were on my odometer. But according to the app, the ride never existed. The next morning I contacted driver support and gave them the name, pickup street, and time. They told me there was no request made to my account at 1:17 a.m. No canceled ride. No completed ride. Nothing. I drove back to the pickup address that afternoon. The house had a faded "For Sale" sign in the yard. Windows dusty. A lockbox on the door. I knocked anyway. No answer. A neighbor watering plants told me the place had been empty for months. I didn't mention why I was asking. I then drove to the drop-off building. In daylight it looked worse, half condemned, windows broken. There was no side entrance where I'd seen him walk. Just solid brick. That night around 1:15 a.m., my phone buzzed again. New request. The passenger name field was blank. Not even letters this time. Just empty space. Pickup location, the same house. I stared at the screen as the timer counted down. I didn't touch it. With 3 seconds left, the app accepted the ride on its own. The navigation screen opened and began routing me there. I immediately hit cancel. The screen froze. A notification appeared, passenger waiting. I was parked outside a gas station miles away. My doors were locked. Then I heard the rear passenger door handle pull once. A sharp metallic click. I spun around. No one was there. The handle pulled again, harder this time, as if someone impatient was trying to get in. I first noticed it on a Tuesday, which I remember clearly because Tuesdays are my longest shifts at the clinic and I don't get home until nearly 7. I unlocked my apartment door, stepped inside, and immediately felt that faint, unsettling sensation that something had shifted. Nothing dramatic, nothing broken or missing, just wrong. The throw blanket I always leave folded over the right arm of the couch was spread neatly across the middle cushion. The coffee table book that usually sits crooked had been aligned with careful precision. The remote control was placed parallel to the edge of the table as if someone had measured it. I stood there longer than I'd like to admit, telling myself I was tired, that memory is unreliable, that maybe I'd been rushing that morning. I fixed the blanket, turned the book back, nudged the remote into its usual careless angle, and tried to forget about it. The next day the kitchen chair was pushed in completely, centered with unnatural symmetry beneath the table. I never push that chair in all the way because it scrapes the tile and the sound annoys me. The framed photo of my parents near the entryway had been moved closer to the wall, straightened to a perfect 90 degrees. My apartment wasn't ransacked, it looked curated. I checked the front door twice, then the deadbolt, then the windows. Everything was locked. I even examined the doorframe for splinters or scratches. Nothing. By Thursday, my closet door, which I always leave slightly open because it sticks at the hinge, was fully shut. My laundry basket had been repositioned at the foot of my bed, centered as though someone had been staging a photograph. That night I barely slept, convinced every soft creak of the building was a footstep. On Friday I called my landlord, who sounded irritated more than concerned and assured me no one else had a key. I bought a small security camera that weekend and set it on my bookshelf facing the front door and living room. On Monday I checked the live feed obsessively during breaks at work, but nothing unusual appeared. When I got home, everything was exactly as I'd left it, almost too exact, and for the first time I wondered if stress was finally distorting my memory. That night, however, at 2:17 a.m., my phone buzzed with a motion alert. I opened the app and saw my living room in grainy night vision, quiet and empty, except the camera angle had shifted slightly upward. My stomach tightened as I scrolled back through the recording. At 8:43 p.m., hours earlier, the living room lights had switched on. The front door never opened. A man stepped into frame from the hallway, moving calmly, wearing dark clothes and gloves. He approached the camera and adjusted it with deliberate care, tilting it just enough so it no longer captured the hallway entrance. Seconds later, I watched myself wander into the living room for water, unaware. He remained just out of sight, hidden in the blind spot he'd created, waiting until I returned to my bedroom before turning off the lights and disappearing from view. The door never opened because he hadn't come through it. When the police searched my apartment that morning, they found disturbed insulation above the hallway closet ceiling and evidence of someone camping in the crawl space connecting to the vacant unit next door. He hadn't stolen anything, he'd been living above me, slipping down when I was gone or asleep, rearranging small pieces of my world with unsettling patience. I moved out within the week, but sometimes I still wake up convinced that if I walk into the living room, the blanket will be folded differently, the chair centered perfectly, and I won't be alone in the space I thought was mine.